So I actually always love checking in on these type of players that have been involved in the balancing of some of the less-known Age of Empires games. So welcome back, folks, and I'll explain exactly what I mean by all that. Because we've got Kelazhur, who we've seen before, very talented StarCraft player, about $180,000 in prize pool earnings, played at some of the highest levels, represents the SA region. I think he's considered the best in the SA region in StarCraft right now. I don't think that's an incorrect statement to say. Or at least he's definitely the top earner, I believe. But his opponent is the one that I was referring to. So Eerie over here, much less known player. He played a lot of Age of Empires Online. In fact, he was involved in the Project Celeste PvP balance team. So he actually was involved in the development, essentially, right? The design of the development and helping to balance that out, which is a pretty remarkable thing, in my opinion. I think Age of Empires Online definitely got a lot less kind of attention, credit, whatever. But these were the type of people that were helping to try and evolve it into a game with a lot more staying power. And I think they definitely get a huge chunk of the credit for how it remained reasonably popular for as long as it did. I say reasonably because obviously, you know, for a long time it's still a dying game. I mean, I last played Age of Empires Online probably in like 2012, 2013. So you can kind of see how long that game lasted for me. But the fact that they kept it around this long was definitely a big credit has to go out to the Project Celeste balance team. Now, the cool thing about Eerie is he's definitely quite a talented player. So he did play in the Genesis qualifier for the $20,000 AGC prize pool, the biggest tournament AoE For's had so far. And he got fairly far. He got to the round 64, and he was beaten by Hera. Now, I don't think I have to introduce Hera to you. You're probably most familiar with that. Obviously, I wouldn't say Hera is by any means the most skilled individual AoE for. He could be. I think it would be like he'd have to fully dedicate. I think he'd admit that right now he's split between the two, and obviously with that there's a degree of like loss of skill or slower kind of adaptation and picking up things. That's not to write her off at all, but that is to say that, you know, Eerie losing to him is a respectable exit for Eerie, but obviously it's not the same as if you lost to Viper, who won the tournament, or Misto, who came in second. All these people who have, I don't know, 400 plus games at this stage. I mean, I guess my comparative is when I look at Hera, Hera currently has 262, but he hasn't played for 11 days. And that's my case in point, right? These players right now, they're trying to balance out Age of Empires 2, Age of Empires 4, depending on what tournaments are happening and where they're happening. And it means that sometimes they're just not as warmed up, right? Whereas Eerie here, he's been on the grind. I think Eerie, how many games is he up to now, actually? It's got to be quite a few. So this is the beauty of having two PCs. I think he slipped out of the top 100. 136, but he's got 151 games. So he actually, I think he's got Smurfs though. I'm certain Eerie has Smurfs. It might just also be that he doesn't have as much time to commit. Because remember, like, Eerie, although, you know, he was fairly well known in the Age of Empires Online scene, look at his prize pools. His total earnings is $1,000. So that kind of, that highlights and puts into perspective, right, how rough it can be being in Age of Empires Online. And that was winning or coming second in several of these different tournaments across the years. It's just, it's not an ecosystem that supports full-time work for the players, right? Compared to Hera, Kelazhur, who come from these games, Age of Empires 2, StarCraft 2, where you can actually afford to go full-time. Let's focus on what's happening in these openings, right? Because we talked about the players a lot. We talked about where they came from. We've had this kind of like nice little kind of podcasty monologue. But obviously, this is Mongols versus Rus. And I think Mongols versus Rus, there's actually potential for both sides to rush here. Mongols need no explanation, right? You've got Magadai, you've got the early spear spam. There's definitely plenty of options there. I think what we're seeing out here is kind of interesting, actually, out of Eerie, which is he's gone for the early horseman spam. And he's going to catch Kelazhur off guard. Look at this right now. So Kelazhur, he just got his tech up. So Eerie is behind in that regard. Now, Kelazhur does have this issue that horsemen are lingering outside his base, so he has to keep a very tight economy. And the problem that he'll run into with this is he never expanded the gold line. So far, the gold he's been getting has all been from hunting. And I've got to give credit to Kelazhur. Up to 365 bounty already is mighty impressive. And his opponent has just begun his tech up, but as we said, he's going to be behind. And the thing that you could actually do, if you want to, as Kelazhur, is you could try and go into Knights. I just don't think it's the way to go when you're up against these horsemen. Speaking of which, horsemen tried to move in. One of them might get sniped out. Yep, one goes down. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to get that eked out value, right? Get a little bit of eco ahead. Understanding that his opponent beat him in a lot of ways to the hunting regards. right? Up to 375 already. So he needs to shut him out somewhere else. Especially when you see the Golden Gate going, you want to apply pressure to a Roost player for doing that. Because if they go Kremlin, you're like, okay, yeah, you know, I can't get him, but he hasn't eco-expanded in that regard by going for the Golden Gate. So he slowed him down a bit already. The problem he has is because he can't reach this eco line, because everything's stacked, and although, you know, Kelazhur, he couldn't get his hands on this gold yet because there's now Horsemen out, because of all that hunt that went on, his economy is actually pretty stable. You can see he keeps trading in the wood. And this is the beauty of the Golden Gate, right? You can actually play this very kind of retracted, I keep to myself, I don't talk to anyone style of gaming, where you don't expand out from your TC until, you know, halfway through fuel. And that's what it looks like we're seeing here. In fact, we're not even seeing a reactionary force being built, right? It's just scouts. So this is the other part that supports what Kelazhur is doing. Is once he gets professional scouts, which is now complete, he'll be able to pick up these corpses and run them back and continue to play a very bottled-in economy, a very kind of sheltered style of play, right? Which his opponent can't easily punish. Because these horsemen don't do great damage against the scouts. And the other important detail to keep in mind, folks, is if you don't kill these scouts, they do heal over time. It's a very overlooked detail of scouts in Age of Empires 4s. I don't believe they had that in AoE 2. If you got damaged scout in AoE 2, it stayed damaged. But in here, they slowly regenerate themselves. They're Call of Duty gamers, you know? And that means that he can just keep doing this, gets more value out of the scouts each time, which basically have already paid for themselves, gathering these carcasses. And the only way you're really going to stop this if you're Eerie is if, yeah, you do this type of thing where you collect all the food yourself, or you research into the professional scouts. I don't expect them to take professional scouts. I would say that almost every Civ gets big advantages out of taking professional scouts. The one that doesn't, to me, is the Mongols. And the reason is that you have a Gur. The Gur can move, right? So why on earth, like, do you need to bring those bodies back? There is the harassment worry, right? But I feel like you're just kind of playing into a jack of all trades instead of playing to your strengths if you do that, right? It's better to play like this. However, it will not stop the Rust player from... Look what he's doing! Kelazhur's yoinking the corpses as they're being harvested. Oh my... Oh my, that is dirty. Kelazhur, you sneaky little snake. So now this becomes really frustrating for Eerie, right? He moved all these people out here to take advantage of the quicker gathering. You know, he invested the Gur over here. Now he has to move it all back, so that's going to be wasted time. And in the end, he only gets 2 deer worth, right? So it wasn't what he was looking for with this expansion. It becomes a little bit less efficient. And these small inefficiencies add up, right? I feel like some people will hear me saying these things. It's like, you're just nitpicking, Killer Pigeon. Why are you being so mean to Eerie? Eerie is doing a great job, all right? I like Eerie. You take it up the rear. You suck. Well, no, because the way that these high-level matches work, especially when people get better and better at the game, especially as things progress, it becomes less about the big, oh, he screwed up, he should have done this, he should have transitioned here, right? This one big thing, he didn't build horsemen for the entire game, or he only built archers, or whatever. It starts to become about these small inefficiency plays, right? Everyone's trying to perfect their game. Think about speedrunning, right? Think about if you play Little Big Planet, Mirror's Edge, whatever these type of games, right? Where you ran through a level and you got a good timing. And then someone came along and got a better timing. And then someone came along and got a better timing. And every time, they're beating your timings because they're doing small niche things a lot of times. Every once in a while, there's this big jump, which is where someone, in kind of the AoE comparative, is they discover an entirely new strategy. Right? Oh my god, I didn't realize Warrior Monks gave me a huge buff in damage. Oh my god, the Cruel Tide changes everything. This type of thing. But a lot of times, it's like they cut the corner a little bit quicker. They do this little hop over the wall here in Mirror's Edge. Or, you know, in this case, they steal away these corpses, which you first of all invested in going out to collect. And while we've been ranting on again, Kelazhur, of course, hitting a ridiculous timing. I actually should have highlighted this. Was that about 8 minutes? 8:20? Really good timing on the Abbey of the Trinity. No record breakers at all, but just proving how well you can play a tight economy to eke out a tech advantage. I really love the way Kelazhur's played this. Meanwhile, Eerie, I'm disappointed. I'm really disappointed. I feel like you saw what your opponent was doing, and there was no pivot to pressure, right? So I think going with these early horsemen, yes, it's a bit expensive. He was only about 4 in, though. So I think he could have pivoted at that stage, and he could have looked to try and get into the ramming very quickly, which he's doing now, but my problem is you're too late, right? Your opponent is teched up. He's reached tech 3, and you can already see the archery ranges going down. So he intends to build the horse archers, which means everything you do is going to be countered now. Because while you can have these horsemen, right, they're going to have to be diving into the base where it gets dangerous, and the scouts can hold them in chokes long enough that you can pepper them. And more importantly, you're building the spearmen, which means that they're just going to be melted quickly. Hardened spearmen, yes, I'll give you that. But remember, those horse archers, they pepper them down pretty fast, and they are slow-moving infantry. You know, you're already on the assault, so it's not like you've got these units with a Deerstone buff. In fact, if you look where the Deerstone is, it's all eco benefits right now. He's not getting any benefit to his military. He's not even reinforcing quicker. I think this is somewhat of a mistake. I think what we quite often see is the Deerstone is balanced between being placed at the eco line and being placed at the military. The reason being is like for that buff, for how long that lasts, right? For the 20 seconds, just running your infantry quicker to the front line to reinforce, you definitely get the value there. And that's why Mongols, by the way, I think are capable of a much quicker infantry rush timing than most civs, is because they can actually reinforce at a quicker rate like that. Not just with their double production from the Uvu, but by the fact that they move them across the map quicker than any other civ. So ram up. Going into 3. I like this move by Eerie. I think if you jump the gun and goes in with 1 or 2, the horse archers mash you a bit, and then the villagers get the rest. I really need to see Kelazhur up production. He has gone up to 3 archery ranges now, but right now he's house popped. So I think he needs about 25 horse archers at this rate to mount a defense. He's scouted it all out, by the way. So Kelazhur has full vision of what's coming towards him. And Eerie is going to try and punish him for coming out. Able to close the gap. Remember, we said the horsemen do get that bonus damage, so Kelazhur jumping out a bit too quick. He could go for a wall type play to delay them here, but he's waiting. He's actually just banking this instead. In fact, no, he hasn't even banked it yet. He accidentally panics and picks it up again. He will drop it in just in time in the end. And now the wall around the back. Going to try and split this. Some of the spearmen are going to be lost, though. He can't get them past the villager line. And that is going to trade into Kelazhur's favor here. The horse archers continue to retreat away from the spearmen. The battering rams are not doing enough damage, though. And with the assistance of the spears on the front now, you can start to work through these targets. Warrior monks as well. Remember, they also do buff these villagers, so they're doing even more damage. In the meantime, the horse archers on the home front are holding their own. Most of the forces for Eerie are gone at this stage. And I think he's held. There's really nothing left for Eerie. And the tree killing isn't going to be good enough. He's barely got enough wood to rebuild a ram army. He can only build 1. What does he do? I don't think he does much. I mean, Eerie, he even loses the Khan. Is that the spelling of the end of the era? That might be the spelling of the end of the game. I just don't see what you do now. Kelazhur at tech 3 repels your assault. Amazing play around the back with the roll. It's only a few spearmen, but it helps make the difference and helps to force that GG's. Kelazhur repels the rush, tech booms like a beauty, and pushes Eerie right out of this game.